Hello and welcome to the New Jersey Association for College Admission Counseling College Fair. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. This is the panel discussion on LGBTQ plus students and the college process. And this is tips and resources for a successful college admission process. We're so excited to have you here today. My name is Jenny. I have a few housekeeping announcements for you before we get started. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. However, you can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website. This presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/New Jersey. I'd now like to turn it over to our panelist, Dana, to kick things off for us. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dana Lambert. I am a school counselor at West Milford Township in West Milford, New Jersey. I will be joined by Nick Keno, who is a school counselor. Sorry about that. Who is a school counselor at Perth Amboy High School in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. He is just running a little late. As I'm sure many of you know, it's a very busy time in the high schools, but he will be with us. We are part of the New Jersey Association for College Admissions Counseling's Rainbow Key Team. And what the Rainbow Key Team's initiative is to go out and provide resources for students, for counselors, for college admission folk about working with kids and students who are LGBTQ and providing you information that you need, information that you may not get in a regular college session, as well as a place to ask questions and people for you to connect with should you have questions as you go through the process. And that's what we are all about. Okay, I'm having technology issues, so bear with me. Okay, we're going to go over 4 key areas with you today. One, what to look for in your college search. I'm not sure where all of you are at in your search, so we will cover what makes a search maybe a little different for you. What other information do you need? We will talk about your application. How do you represent your identity in your application so that you fully present who you are to the level that you're comfortable with? What are key factors? What are some things that you may need to consider? We will talk about a little bit about paying for your application. We are not really a full financial aid workshop, but certainly we know that finances for a lot of us are definitely a key. And then we will give you some key places that you can get other resources and supports along the way. So now we are going to look at before you apply, and I keep saying we because I'm waiting for Mr. Kano to join me. So, okay. So there are several search sites that are specifically to help students who identify as LGBTQ and break things down for you a little bit easier than just a generic site, which may not have the information. The one most people are familiar with and is the most visual out there is the Campus Pride Index. The Campus Pride Index has gone out and done extensive research on campuses, as well as campuses can apply for what's called an index score. If you're staying on later and you're doing any of the panel presentations this evening, you will see that some of the schools will display their Campus Pride Index score. And that'll be explained a little bit about what that means. It gives you a sense as to how advanced or how in-depth a college is within their services and within what they provide. Some of what I'll cover in the next slide. There are others out there. These are actually links. So you actually have information. You can go to the Consortium of Higher Education LGBTQ Resource Professionals. There's lots of things out there. But again, most people are familiar with and comfortable with the Pride Index. It's written in a way that's very user-friendly. When any student looks at a college, there are really 3 basic areas that you want to look at. regardless of who you are, where you're from. You want to look at academics. Will the school have the things that you want to study? Doesn't matter how great the school is. If you want to be an art major and there is not an art program, that's really one of your first things you need to check out. We will look a little bit about, again, campus life. What are the aspects of campus life that you may need to think about as a queer student that a cisgender straight student may not even think about? In addition to the things that you do that we all think about. Will we like the weather? Do we want a city? Is it in the country? Do I want to go to a campus that's diverse? Do I, as a student, want to go to a campus that I can roll out of bed and walk 10 steps and get to the cafeteria, walk another 15 steps and get to my class? Or do I want to go somewhere where maybe it's a multi-city campus and I have to hop a bus to get to my classes? All of those things ring true when you talk campus life. And then policies, particularly around gender and sexuality, as we see some of the things happening in our country. You really want to take a deep dive into the policies of each campus and where those policies may affect your day-to-day life. So taking academics, again, beyond major, and major is certainly important. Again, you don't want to go to school and start there and find out 2 years in that they don't have courses in the things that you eventually want to do in the world, the things that you need to get your licenses, the things that you need to get your jobs. One of the things to consider is, are there professors, administrators, college staff that are out and are visible? Are you walking past doors of professors' offices that have symbols on them that indicate that they are receptive and they are open? Are there professors that are known for their work in this field? Are there majors? Are there minors in queer studies, LGBTQ studies, gender studies? Certainly, if a campus offers a major in queer studies or gender studies, one would hope that they are a more progressive, welcoming environment to you. That may be something that you yourself want to major in. That may be something that you didn't know that you could major in till I said it 2 minutes ago. But there are those majors, and students do study this and go out and go into a multitude of things, whether it's working for nonprofit associations or doing media or working in academia. You can take these majors and these minors and make a career out of this. Is there an LGBTQ library or a section of the library? If I want to go into the library and I want to read about someone who's transgender, will I be able to pull that book? Or am I at a place where the book is behind a shelf and I have to ask everybody? And I see my co-presenter has just joined us. I'm going to take a second and let Nick introduce himself to you all.
Hi there, Nick Cano. I'm a school counselor at Perth Amboy High School. I apologize for being late. I was on the other side of interviews. I was assisting with interviewing for some openings at our school. So I apologize for being late.
So Nick and I have worked together before. We've worked together in the past. We will probably bounce off each other a little bit. I will probably throw him aside. He'll throw me aside. But art will be a lot more interactive. So it'll be a little better than y'all listening to me read to you, which is what I feel like I've been doing. Okay, so where was I at? Okay, course syllabi. Again, do you have diverse viewpoints and backgrounds? One of the things that's key to me, and it's actually something I just updated in our slides, is what will be your name on the class roster? Will your name be your name, the name that you are identified with, the name that you are called? I updated this slide. The slide was from a previous presentation, and we used the term preferred. And it's, to me, it's not your preferred name, it's your name. So you want to know that the college will use the name that you use and that your professors will respect and know your pronouns. Nick, anything to add on this part of the academia slide?
No, I think this definitely hits all the major parts. I think just to piggyback off what you're saying, and a lot of this, I'm not sure if we got to this, but a lot of this is a feel and a vibe that you get from actually visiting the school. You know, when you go to office hours, do you see that they have, you know, the symbol for that they're inclusive? You know, that's a big one for me. I make sure that I have that in my office wherever I'm at. You know, do they, when they, in their email signatures, do they have their pronouns? I make sure I think I'm one of the only few in my district, unfortunately, that does that, or at least in my building. But I make that point known because I've worked with several students and I've assisted them through their transition to get their names changed on our program, to get their names read on during graduation. And, you know, it's important to them, you know, so I want to make sure that I do my part. Are your colleges and universities doing theirs?
So then we look at the bigger part of college. College is academia, but college is also campus life. And you spend more time at college living and being part of the college community than you actually probably do in class. Class is a piece of it. But unlike high school, where class is all of it, college is so much more than that. College, you are becoming the person you are, and that's done in spaces that are not necessarily in the classroom. Nick and I kind of float back and forth on this one. Again, name is important. Is it your name on your student ID card? What is the situation? Let me let you take housing. I've been talking a lot, Nick.
Yeah, so gender inclusive housing. I know back when I was in college, it wasn't even a question. You were a male, you lived with another guy. You were a female, you lived with another female. I even wanted to dorm with someone who was a female just because we were friends. We went to high school together, but it was not even a thought that would cross their mind. You know, nowadays things are different. So you want to make sure that, you know, these are things that either you're asking on a college tour or you're doing additional research on. Can you live with a person that you feel comfortable with? Maybe you went to high school with them and you already know them, so they already know you, and there's that level of comfort until you know, spread your wings at the university level. Does roommate matching include options for gender identity and sexuality? You know, these are things that you want to make sure they are accommodating to you, because at the end of the day, that's where you're going to be for the next 4 years. You want to be somewhere that you're going to be happy for the next 4 years, and not somewhere where you're going home on the weekends, where you're debating whether or not you should transfer. You know, obviously if that happens, it happens, but not because of the campus life. Maybe it's because initially you wanted X program, but they don't offer that program, or whatnot, or you changed your mind in terms of program or your major, so you have to find another school. That's different, but you don't want it to be because of your housing and your campus life experience.
You know, and as far as sexuality goes, it is an issue in college. You want to know that you're going to be paired with someone who's going to accept whoever your significant other or your partner or your fling for the evening is, because the worst thing that could happen is it's not discussed, and then you have that issue. Gender inclusive bathrooms are huge. I've been on college tours and I've been to campuses where they're like, we have gender inclusive bathrooms in the dorms. Wonderful. For someone like me who's frequently visiting bathrooms, I need to know that there are bathrooms somewhere else on campus other than just in the dorm. And that's true for many people. You want to know that if you're in class and that's what you need, or that's what you prefer, that you have that ability to go there. You need to know where the safe spaces are in campus.
Right.
Nick, you want to take counseling and health center?
Yeah, and just so that I kind of alluded to this before, like, do they have symbols and stuff that, you know, pride flags, trans flags, whatever the case may be? That's how you know it's a safe space. LGBTQ plus counseling services, is that offered? You want to make sure that, you know, because counseling is such a wide branch that there's several different options when it comes to counseling, and one of them specifically is maybe you want to speak with someone who's also part of the community because you want to speak about things that only people in that community might understand, or just at least be more knowledgeable about, right? Health center, are they supportive of your name and gender? Do they offer resources for safe sex, contraception, and things like that? Do they do trainings or anything to make you more aware? Maybe, this might be your first time having a sexual experience. You want to make sure that you are prepared for that. Yeah.
And is the staff trained? Nick made a good point. Maybe if you go to the counseling center and you want to speak with someone within the community, I am an ally. The last thing I would be is insulted if someone said to me, you know what? I don't want to talk to you, Lambert. I want to talk to someone within the community. If I got offended by that, that's very telling, because inclusive is inclusive and your preferences are your preferences. And like we said, this is where you will be and live and spend your time. Oh, we've got more campus life stuff.
I already stated to this. Are there visible signs of pride, flags, stickers? This is a big one. Are there any organizations, gay straight alliances? I know, for example, at Rutgers, they have I can't remember the exact letters, but I know they have a gay men specific Greek life. Any resources, mentoring program? So you have to take into consideration. I can only speak to my experience, and I feel like things are a lot sooner, which I appreciate, which I think is better. But at least when I went to college, I know that that's when others were feeling more comfortable because they were on their own, because they weren't at home. So they felt like they could be more themselves. So that's when they were first coming out, transitioning. So you want to make sure that you have these resources available to you. This is, as alluded to already, this is a fun 4 years. This is probably the best 4 years of your life. You want to make sure that it stays the best 4 years of your life, regardless of whether you've been out since middle school or this is your first time.
And look around. I tell all my students this anyway. Look around, like Nick said, about what do you see? What kind of signage do you see? What kind of things do you see advertised either in their physical paper, if they're still handing out student newspapers, on their website? There are still flyers on campuses. So are they celebrating coming out day? Are they having a lavender graduation ceremony? Is there an LGBT barbecue or social or something like that? It does not mean you have to go. I've had this conversation with students too. This doesn't mean that because you are part of the community that you need to immerse and be completely in the community, or to quote my student walking around with a rainbow flag on my back. But it's nice to know that those things are there should you want them. And if you are an ally like I am, this was something I look for. Now, I'm not going to college, and we won't talk about when I went to college in the dark ages, because none of this was there. But I look for this because I want to see that, there's things to do, there's things to educate others, there's things that are exclusively yours, and there are resources to, again, embrace different cultures.
Right. And I will say this much. I went to two different universities for undergrad and graduate. And I will say this much. There was, even though it was right back to back. So you can't say like, oh, the times were different. It was back to back. There was a marginal difference in LGBT, the community. I actually got myself involved and was a grad assistant in the Center for Social Justice and LGBT education. So like I knew of all this stuff. I participated in all this stuff. This stuff was important to me. I made it known to undergraduates and graduates that these resources were available. So, it's little things like these. It matters. It matters to us. So you want to make sure that if you want to attend a queer prom, that you can. If you want to attend a lavender graduation, you can. So things like this matter.
We talked about policies, and policies sound cut and dry, and they're kind of boring, and we understand that. You have people like us, hopefully, What are your school counselors that can help you find some of this boring stuff if it's important to you? Or parents, some parents, if they're supportive of you, may, want to do this dig. But you want to know that your college has policies written for LGBTQ, for gender terminology, for name, for orientation, for sexual identity. You need to know that you're protected. As I alluded to, there are things happening in our country right now that this is a real concern for people. So it's not unheard of for someone to ask you one, and know that you are safe and that you are supported, and that safety and that support will continue the time you're there. If there's an advisory committee, we talked about a center. We'll get into forms in a minute, but really policies protect you. Nick and I both are fortunate to work in a state where our policies, particularly for the transgender community, when it comes to public school, are crystal clear. And we stand on those policies a lot. When it's a policy, it's not someone's decision. So look for those. Okay. Now we get into the when you apply. You want to take this?
Sure. So you just have to make sure that when you're applying, for example, through Common App or through a school's application, that given name versus preferred name. So it does clearly say that you have to indicate your given name. And the reason why is because more likely than not, this is what's going to match with everything. Your transcripts, letters of recommendation, possibly. Pertinent school information that we as counselors send to universities, they have to match what you are sending, right? They do give you the option to put your preferred name because at least in my experiences, if I know a student's preferred name, that's what I'm going to reference them as on my letter of recommendation. But you have to understand that, for example, College Board, SATs, AP exams, that will likely be in your given name. Other things such as, like I said before, letters of recommendation, that might be in your preferred name. So they want to make sure that they are catering to you, but just from a logistics standpoint, they need to have both.
Everything has to match.
Yes.
So if they have both, it's easier for them to match up things. So you don't get, or if you get the scary email that says, we have your application, but we don't have your AP scores and the counselor didn't send your letter, we can kind of backtrack and help you figure out where things may have fallen through the cracks. And the last thing we want it to be is the name. So when they ask, you give them the name, even if it's a name that you don't like, that you don't use, that you would prefer people never use. And again, some of this depends on your state. In our state, a student can say, this is my name, and that's what we have to put on a transcript, and that's how we send out a diploma. But it's not the same all over. So we want to be not giving you a mixed message, but kind of give you a little bit of an overview of all of it.
Right. And I know for my experience, at least, it's mostly a College Board AP SAT issue in the state of New Jersey, because our transcripts can match the preferred name, but we can't get that, unfortunately. But how will you be addressed? Will this information carry over to classroom ID? So for this purpose, it's mostly application. But once you get to the college and university, if they're asking you preferred name, 9 times out of 10, I'm willing to bet they will be addressing you by your preferred name. Your ID will have that preferred name on it as well. They wouldn't be going out of their way asking for your preferred name if they weren't going to cater to that upon admittance and going to that school.
And it's the same thing with gender. And we've gotten a lot of feedback. We tried to have a college counselor with us when we do these panels. We weren't able to do that today. If you're staying for the session on essay, you will hear from Michael Cartusiello, who is a college counselor at Lesley University. So he'll go over some of this as far as the essay piece goes. You will have to put your sex assigned at birth. That is a legal federal mandate. The colleges have to ask you that question. So there are times where if you are transgender, you do have to refer to your sex assigned at birth. We know that's not your identity. A lot of times in Common App has a space that says we invite you to share more about what your gender identity is, but there are federal mandates that they must collect data on your legal sex at birth.
And again, purely for statistical purposes, but then the rest is you have autonomy in. You know, if they do have this option, indicate what your pronouns are, and more likely than not, that information will also carry over for in the classroom, on your student ID. All right, so the Common App. So this is something obviously Dana and I have a lot of experience on from a high school standpoint. But again, given name and preferred name or nickname, you will have that opportunity, at least on the Common App. And that's because it is going to a lot of universities and colleges. But with that in mind, just don't take this as, oh, they're gender inclusive. This school is gender inclusive because they're asking me for my preferred name. That is a Common App question. That is not a school specific question. So I just want to keep that in mind, because I know I mentioned that before, but when I said that, I was referring more so to individual school application. If they have that, that's your tell of knowing that they are accepting. But this is more Common App specific. And again, the same premise with sex, that would be your sex assigned at birth.
On the same token, like Nick was saying, don't assume they're inclusive because they have this. Don't assume they're not inclusive either because of a term like nickname. I know that's a thorn in my side. It's a thorn for most of my students. It's not a nickname, it's a name. We are working, we being the college community, the college counseling community, the high school counseling community, to bring everybody up to speed, but it takes time. So we've got a step further to go with Common App. It will get there. It will get there.
All right, identify yourself, sexual orientation. So are you able to identify your sexual orientation? How? So I think this more so is, when you're doing the actual college application. So a lot of times this may come out, and I know this is another slide, but I know this may come out in maybe a personal statement. So I just want to make sure that your personal statement should be a personal statement. If your sexual orientation has to do with your personal statement, if there was a challenge that you faced or whatnot, that's fine. But don't let your sexual orientation guide your personal statement. I think the next slide explains it better, but we'll just stay on this one for now. So, but how do you identify yourself? Do your parents know? Are both parents aware or only one parent aware? So this might not be asked on all applications directly, but you want to make sure that, and colleges do a good job at this. Let's say, for example, you have your, excuse me, Dana, you have your preferred name, but you have a different name listed on, you have your given name listed on Common App. And to respect you, they may ask for your, they will ask for your given name because they may not know who they're talking to. They may not know, are they getting a landline? Are they getting a cell phone? They don't want to out you in any way. So you want to just keep that in mind. Let's say, for example, they do call your cell phone and they ask for John, but you go by Maria. So you just want to keep that in mind when colleges and universities are reaching out to you, especially if it is via phone or maybe even a text message. They don't know. Maybe your parents monitor your text messages and they don't want to say something that might out you. So just keep that in mind.
And again, they may ask your orientation, especially if you're living on campus. That's where that comes in. I wanted to touch on parents as well. That is something that Common App has also changed, because we know the assumption is that everybody comes from a household with a male and female parent, and that is not necessarily the case. So you will see some of that changing as well. So if you're a child of a same-sex couple, there will be ways for you to tell that as well.
I got ahead of myself. This was the slide I was thinking
Yeah, go
about.
for it.
Thank you. So yes, you do not have to talk about your gender identity or sexual orientation or coming out unless you want to. Again, it shouldn't be the guide for your personal statement, but if it is an important factor, if you feel like telling your story really will pull in whoever's reading it, your admissions counselor, go for it. You do need to talk about who you are as a person. You do need to talk about how you've grown as a person or how you've overcome obstacles in your life. So it can be a great essay topic, but it doesn't have to be. Again, your essay is about you and that you're awesome. So if it is relevant, definitely go for it. But if you feel like it's a push, like you're only putting it out there because you feel like you have to check a box or meet a criteria, don't.
And like, that is the next workshop. So even if you weren't signed up for it and you want to stay on for that, just you can go back in and register. That is really what they're going to cover in more depth than we are.
Yes.
What do we have here?
So again, Common App does have this additional information. If there's any additional information that you want to let them know about, and this could be, maybe you do want to mention that because you are compelled to let them know, and you felt like it wasn't appropriate in the letter of recommendation, but you do just want the schools to know. That would be your area.
And this can be a positive. This is not, a lot of people I think take this as, let me tell something that, how I overcame something. That's fine. But maybe this is a place too, if you've organized, a lot of the communities around me are starting to have Pride Days in June and Pride Fest that never had before. Maybe you organized Pride Fest and that didn't fit under extracurricular activities. That didn't fit. That wasn't what you wanted to talk about in your essay, but you're very proud about it. This is another spot that you can use that. You could brag about yourself here with something that may not have fit somewhere else.
Exactly.
Financial aid. I'm gonna let Nick take this. It's not my forte. Financial aid and
gosh.
scholarships. Give me the money. Like I said, we are touching on this. There are people out there that do financial aid way better than we do. So
Yes,
this is just
same.
a little teaser taste for you.
All right. So, so these are various facets that make up your financial aid. So you have grants and scholarships. That's money that you do not have to pay back. So anytime that you get any information or you're told, oh, congratulations, you're getting 10,000 in grants and 20,000 with the presidential scholarship, that's money that you do not have to pay back. However, that may come with a stipulation. It may say you have to maintain a 3.0 at the end of your freshman year, then a 3.2 by the end of your sophomore year. So you have to make sure that you read that fine print, because even though college is supposed to be fun, you want to make sure that you are maintaining that GPA, especially if that means your scholarship is on the line. Additionally, they also have work study options. So basically what that means is you qualify for perhaps $2,000 a semester for a total of $4,000 a year in work study. So you have to find a qualifying work study position, and the Office of Financial Aid will help you with that. And then that money that you make, it can go to you directly in a paycheck, or you can use that to go towards your balance in your tuition. And then the last part is loans. So you want to take out as little loans as possible. You want to be as debt-free as possible as you can after your 4 years, because it can rack up rather quickly. So loans would be your last part, and that's where making sure that you fill out the FAFSA is important. That is the free application for federal student aid. And you want to make sure you are on the right website, because there are people out there that try to charge you for it and call themselves a FAFSA, but it literally has the word free in it. So things to keep in mind. The financial aid application will, again, also ask about your sex assigned at birth. Some states provide aid to undocumented students and trans students who cannot use FAFSA. So you want to make sure that you're just looking into your individual states' guidelines and what their criteria are. And applicants residing in the US who are 18 to 25 and assigned male at birth are required to register with selective service. So again, this goes back to why you're answering in your college application your sex assigned at birth, because if you are a male, there's an extra step that you have to take with signing up with selective service. Basically, if there's ever a draft, but that hasn't been an issue since, I don't know, the 60s. I don't even know. So really that's the major reason why they have to ask about your if you were a male assigned at birth. And financial aid policies can change regularly. You want to make sure you're working with your financial aid counselors at your college or your FAFSA representatives for assistance. So they are the ones that know more. They're the ones that you're going to want to meet with. There will be a long line. At least I think in this day and age, you can actually make an appointment, which would be better for you. But yes, financial aid and you will be working closely together so that you want to ensure that you're taking out as little loans as possible and you have as much scholarships, grants, and possible federal work study that you can do. So things to keep in mind: reach out to LGBTQ plus services at your colleges to help with finding additional scholarships for LGBTQ students at that school. So start in high school. At least for me, I know I work on the scholarship committee in my building, and there are plenty of opportunities out there in terms of scholarship. I know, Dana, you could also speak to this, but female only, male only, LGBT community only, trans only, like these are donors, or these are people that want to give money to support people in that community. So you want to make sure that you're just doing the additional research, finding those opportunities. You want to make sure that you're following the financial aid deadlines. It's super important. Uber important and Uber is bolded for that reason. I know we're going back and forth here, but yes.
That's our time too. That's why.
Yes. That's why I'm trying to breeze through this, but scholarships are available from national, regional, local, and university sources. Speak to your counselor. They might have their own scholarship committee that they're doing, their own donors. So you want to make sure you apply for scholarships early because you don't know how many people are in the competition. You want to make sure you are putting your name in the ring and being eligible for this money.
So support along the way, and we're kind of trying to wrap up because Nick and I get very chatty.
Yes.
So there are resources out there. Your school counselors, your college counselors, we hope are resources for you. If there are not, we have our email addresses at the end of this presentation. National Association for College Admissions Counseling. In our world, we hear it as NJACAC, or most states have local associations. New Jersey certainly does. Look for local programs. New Jersey Rainbow Key was born out of realizing that we needed to do more. We have lists that we can give you. We realize, these are links, which really doesn't help you because you're watching us virtually. But if you email me or you email Nick, and like I said, I'm going to show our emails in a moment, we're happy to email you what we have as our resource list. And we have a resource list of, a resource list of general resources, which even has specific things. Nick talked about Greek life and being queer and where do I fit in Greek life. We also have information on sports. If you're an athlete, that might be a concern for you. We have that as well. In addition, we have a separate list that is a scholarship list. We talked about scholarships that target, different groups. We have a scholarship list that we pulled together for you. Q&A. I think we have a question in the Q&A. Nick, if I hit my screen, I'm afraid I'm going to lose the slide. So maybe you can take a look.
I got it. All right. So, okay. So I'll read it out loud. Yes. How do you guide a student who cannot identify as gay on the application, as parents will review the applications and parents do not accept that people may be gay? The student feels his identity is a big part of his story, but he feels he must continue to hide it from parents as they will not support him if his parents suspect he is gay. This is a really good question. I mean, I would just say, if this is going to be a point of contention and he's got to apply as his parents see fit, then he's gonna have to apply as his parents see fit. I think he just has to do his own research to make sure that they are accepting of him as gay once he arrives. What resources are available to him. Maybe they can help him come out to his parents when he is in college and already there, so again, when you're applying, that they're not interested if you are or not. You just want to, as the student, you want to make sure you do the research. Like, will they be supportive of me once I'm there?
And there's ways to do the research. I understand you're on a college tour. You're not necessarily going to raise your hand, especially if you're not out to your parents to ask some of these questions. This is one of the reasons we're happy to have online resources. This will live on the internet. The colleges that are following us that start at 6 o'clock, those college panels, will also live on the internet and on YouTube. So your student can access that when he is in a place that's safe to listen to that information and get that information. This is a student who clearly should work, hopefully has a good relationship with their counselor. And if he doesn't, should try to make a relationship with a counselor in the office, because this is where we sometimes can play a part. So our letters that we send to colleges are confidential. Parents do not see our rec letters. Truthfully,
Correct.
you as students do not see our rec letters.
Correct.
So if a student came to me and said, this is really important as to who I am, it is something that I can put in my letter. If it was something a student wanted to write an essay, I'll be honest with you, it would be something that I might attach the essay and say, hey, listen, here's Nick's essay. He didn't feel he could share it because his parents checked his applications, but he really wanted you to have this story. Most of your high school counselors work really hard to develop relationships with college admissions counselors. So there are ways that they can help you. If you connect with an admissions counselor, say someone did a presentation from Iona College, you can usually get their email and reach out to them directly. We want to help you, your high school counselors, your college admissions people, we want to help you. So don't feel that you're in a quandary. Reach out and we'll help, someone will help you figure this through. Make sense? So again, here are our direct contacts. You also can reach us at Rainbow Key at NJACAC.org. And the reason you may want to reach that email as opposed to Nick and Dana is maybe you want to talk to an admissions counselor and you're like, okay, they were great people, but I want to know somebody who lives and breathes and sleeps college. Or we have all kind of college reps from all over as part of our team. We have reps from, let me see if I can get my schools right. Jump in, Nick, if I miss any. Rutgers, Kutztown, Leslie, Ramapo College in New Jersey, George Mason.
What was that last one? George
Mason.
Yes. I know she's not part of Hofstra.
We've got lots of connections. Yeah. So that's our team.
We do.
But even beyond our team, we have people we can connect you with. So maybe you email and you say, I'm really looking at, I'm looking at Kutztown. I'm looking at Shippensburg. I'm looking at, I really need to get off the East Coast in case somebody on the East Coast. I'm looking at Rice. Do you have anybody that I can speak to? And we may be able to connect you. Nick, we got another question that popped up. I can only see the numbers.
I got it.
Questions.
Oh no, that was just, so that question was actually from a counselor. And she's appreciating our suggestion.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. And I think we hit our time. I know we were rushing at the end.
Yes.
We appreciate everybody that's come out, and we hope that we provided you a resource and we can continue to be a resource to you.
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you to our panelists as well. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey. So we'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide. We encourage you to check back to the schedule and sign up for more sessions that are happening today. There's a great panel after this, as well as more of those college informational sessions after that as well. So lots of great things happening today. And you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings at strivescan.com/New Jersey. That's strivescan.com/New Jersey. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Best of luck on your college search process. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.